long kind of title. Basically, we're just going to really be talking about a lot about motivation for our students. My name is Mrs. Natasha Eason. I am adjunct faculty in the Health, Sport, and Exercise Science Department. So just to kind of give a little bit of my background, I've been here at Triton for about 11 years, teaching in the department for about 11 years, but I also taught high school as a phys ed and a health teacher as well, and as a coach, coach girls track. And so I also did like personal training throughout the years since undergrad and through those times. So motivation and having to motivate like athletes and clients who wanted to, live a better lifestyle, healthy lifestyle, have always been a part of what I've been doing. So I've kind of been thinking about in, times in the past, like then those same type concepts, I believe, can be translated into students, right? They're technically our clients. We're kind of serving them, right? So kind of looking at then how can we use some motivational tools and those concepts to help students as well, okay? But before we get started, just so names, I can match kind of names real quickly. If you can just
Mary
name
Ann Kennedy, and I'm teaching GED math.
Okay, all right.
George.
Okay. George,
Yes.
okay.
Alec Lysick, teach architecture and construction technology.
Okay,
I'm Terry McConville. I teach in the education department.
okay.
And I'm Jeff Pasika. I teach in the ultrasound program.
Ultrasound, okay. Same kind. All right, so we're kind of going to look at this from that perspective. So kind of what we're talking about, we want to have that thought process of motivating. How can we, okay, in that aspect. So this is just like my little principles of motivation. It's not impossible, it is always possible, okay? Kind of for our students, looking in that aspect, that we do know we're going to have a select number of students, a lot of different types of students, but we want to look at what are those basic or fundamental things that we can kind of do that any student, right, that comes in our classroom, what can we do, okay? How can we help? So we want to kind of take out that part and always look at the possibility of something, okay? It is possible. All right. So just so you understand where I'm kind of coming from, I kind of want to define to some degree or give the concept of what I mean by the words we're using in here. So principle, fundamental truth or proposition that serves as the foundation for a system of beliefs or behaviors. Right, so as instructors, all right, we are guided by our principles, or should be guided by our principles, right? So what are some of those principles as an instructor that kind of guide us? And this can be a little interactive. So any thoughts? What are those principles that you would say guide you as an instructor? Yes.
Every student has the potential to succeed. Everybody is innately worthy.
Okay.
They deserve to be here.
Okay, so that's the basic fundamental truth that you kind of follow. Great. Anyone else? Yes.
For me, learning should be fun, and if it's not, something's missing.
Okay,
Something's wrong, it needs to be corrected.
All right. Okay.
And everybody's able to learn. Some people are coming from a higher place, some people from a lower place, but learning is always possible.
Okay. Good. Anyone else? So as we develop our own, there's some general overarching ones that we can say higher ed is necessary in our society for our people to learn these skills and competencies. So this is needed, right? one of the things that should be kind of very fundamental, that everyone have the capacity to learn somehow, right? Different learning styles, things like that, but everyone kind of have the potential to do that. So saying the potential, having or showing the capacity to become or develop into something in the future. And this is one of maybe the difficult things that students sometimes can't grasp for themselves. Potential, that they actually have the capacity to do and to succeed. And that's where we really have to come in and really try to show them that that is possible for them, and that is not always easy, right? Not always easy. But motivation, which is the really drives all human performance. We're motivated by something that drives our human performance. And so the reason why we act or behave in a particular manner or way. So that thing, whether we'll get into it, whether it's intrinsic or extrinsic. Now, is anyone in here do psychology? I don't want to be. You do psychology? So you can kind of aid in some of these too of understanding. But the intrinsic, extrinsic, motivational way. Then techniques, just how we'll go about doing things. But this is really one of those things, kind of unlocking the potential, and that's where we kind of want to get at when we're kind of looking at this. So unlock, to open, to pique the imagination. So that's what you're saying in the back. I didn't get your name.
Yeah, Jim.
Jim was saying that it really should be fun, or there should be a level of the imagination can grow, and that's part of being fun, being something that excites one, that says, okay, this is interesting to me. I can flow with this, or I can go with this, right? And that's kind of what we want to do. We want to kind of take all these concepts and look at them and say, okay, now how can we, as instructors, make our classrooms conducive to all of this? Okay, conducive, which I'm sure we all are doing on some level, right? Everyone is doing that. Ever believe that we're not? We're just kind of looking at it and kind of maybe being a little more intentional than maybe we have been. Okay, this is part of our own growth, right? So when we're looking at these, kind of want to start by highlighting kind of like motivation. Okay, motivation, but keeping those principles in mind. Right? So we're kind of looking at motivation, and this is from you see the reference down here, but from the American Psychologist. But if we notice here, we're talking about motivation, intrinsic and extrinsic more so, but we know there's can be no motivation. Some people have no motivation. Some people are highly, highly kind of motivated. But if we see, most people fall here, right? Most people fall in here, the extrinsic, motivation. But there is a level of intrinsic. So people do come here, students do come here for different reasons, right? So what have you all found why students are here? Like, why do they come?
Well, often it's just to get a degree so they can get a job.
Okay, get a degree so they can get a job.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm trying to shake them out of that disgusting. I tell them, you go to high school to make a living, you go to college to make a life.
Okay, all right. Anyone else?
In our specific case, they're learning ultrasound as a career, so
Yeah.
they're learning specific skills that they'll need to succeed.
Okay, so generally, like with that, they're coming. And if they're enrolling in that type of program, they know kind of the path they kind of want to go on. Yeah. Anyone see student coming for other reasons, maybe? Yeah.
In the case of GED students, they've got a bad history with school.
Okay.
So that's a difficult thing for them often, and sometimes it's parental influence.
Parental influence, someone told them they had to go, right? You got to finish. You can't just stay at home. And graduate high school. I mean, well, you didn't graduate high school, right? So let's find a way in which you can go. So that's part of some of that extrinsic motivation. Now we're here, and I want to kind of keep us right here, and I do want to kind of like share a few things. Like I said, so being a coach, I'm dealing with a lot of athletes too. Even here, we're in the sport exercise science department, so we do deal with a lot of athletes. Okay, so many of them may be coming here strictly to play sports, and that's their motivation. That's it. So it takes a lot to try to get them to see that, all right, I know you feel like you're very athletic. I know you feel like you're have this high ability. Only about 2% is going to even go on to, beyond college to even play in professional level. So you're here, but you can be professional in something, right? You can have a career in something. That is probably one of the things that really is a pull for our department, like I said, because many of them do, but you all see them in your classes as well. We're in the building with them, so we just see a lot of that going on. But just as a reference, when I went to high school, I had never participated in sports. My elementary school or grammar school did not have sports really there. So when I went to high school, I really just kind of in school, and I was going to school far from home. This is we're kind of the few starting from my neighborhood of schools that were allowing selective enrollment schools for you to be going to selective enrollment. So when I went there, I went to Lane Tech High School. And so now you got all these different sports and different activities and all this going on, which is so new to me. But I said, I think I want to be a part of something than just other than school. So I went out for the track team because I just felt like it wasn't a hard task to do. You can have 30 track and field runners. In basketball, you only have 15, but you can have 30, 40 track and field. So I said, maybe this would be good for me. Didn't know anything about running or anything. But I did go out. A few friends of mine, we got together and was like, let's go. Let's just take part in it. So I'm really starting as a social dynamic to sports. It wasn't anything really intrinsic because I didn't know nothing about it, right? And so as I began to practice and go out, and we're practicing, I'm meeting the coaches and things of that nature. And the coach realized something in me. Now, again, I'm kind of like a little standoffish as like, okay, I'm just out here. We just having fun, something to do after school, right? But actually, he saw something in me. So that's where the unlocking the potential started to kind of become like a concept that I didn't understand it then, but now in retrospect, I can see this is how this is happening for me. And so where then my friends like, oh, this too hard, practice getting, and we were at Lane Tech, if anybody know where that is up there. We used to run a Wrigley Field from there. Now you gotta really want to do something to practice and do that, run all the way to Wrigley Field. But the more that he saw potential in me, it began to unlock for myself because I began to reflect or start to do things that, okay, I can make it to Wrigley Field. Had no idea, no clue, didn't know what that was, right? And so I continued to stay. He motivated me in a sense where it kind of moved from here, more so in here, to hear, because the more wins that I got, the more that I accomplished in it, the more I completed and things like that. It became a part then of my own personal motivation, right? You know, the different levels and things of motivation, but it became a part of that. And so I end up staying on there from freshman year to high school. I mean, to senior year, we won city championships. I went downstate and participated, and ultimately went to college on the track scholarship. But that is how, when I'm looking at that kind of that framework, in a sense, to see that someone can help you unlock that potential, okay, that you don't even know that's in you. And I think and believe that a lot of our students that may come here for different and various reasons, and Jim, I do believe, stated, come just to have, say they want to get a job, right, and make some money or things like that. That is a part of the motivation. There is a study that was done at the University of Rochester where they did a survey of 2,500 students, both from community college and the university, the self-determination theory, and where they, you know, kind of give why they're there, what motivates them to kind of be there or stay there. And that was one of the guiding ones. And it varies from different socioeconomic backgrounds, from different genders, from different races, what their motivation can be. So we know that there's a lot of different reasons why students are coming here, but we want to look at that no matter what. We want to kind of have our classrooms where anyone that come in there, if they're reasonably being a student, right, I'll use that word, reasonably being a student, meaning they're regularly coming, that they're, you know, everything is kind of conducive for anyone, that they can succeed, they can complete, they can pass. And that's what I believe that our kind of quote unquote responsibility as the instructors are, okay? So when we're looking at this motivation, as we kind of look at this, we have those people here, a motivation, no, really nothing that's driving them, you know, too much. Those, especially those in the GED program, maybe that's motivating them beyond just getting the GED. Do you hear a lot that they want to go beyond just doing that?
Well, that's certainly what we promote.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So beyond that, I know there are some different programs like the Bridge program.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
things of that nature that kind of help. And we know the school is doing broader things in that way. But when we kind of look at our own classrooms, specifically, we generally are the leaders of our classrooms, right? So we're kind of establishing what is that? What are those best practices that we can do in our classroom, okay? And so when we look at then potential, in one of my classes I teach the principles of coaching. So coaching is a leadership kind of position. You're leading these athletes in a way, you're giving them vision, managing them in that way. But there is, when we talk about leadership, there is a thing that, or a concept that's called encourage the heart. Encourage the heart. That means to have high expectations, and I'll come back to that. Where is that? Yeah, locking the potential. Having high expectations for students. Don't lower standards. Oftentimes we can fall into this thing of empathy, which is what we should have. We want to have a level of empathy. But empathy does not mean that if I know that you are wanting a career, that these students want a career, or we know that's good for them, or we know education, higher learning is a good thing, we don't lower the standards. We find a way to help them meet the standards, right? Okay. which again, we know not always easy, but we do look for that. We do look for that. So having high expectations for students. Okay, if we believe that they can, a lot of times students will rise up to the expectations. Okay, rise up to the expectations. The other concept, believe they can succeed in the classroom. So that's where I spoke about before, creating a condition in the classroom that any student who comes to your class can operate as a reasonable student, and they should be able to complete and pass. Okay. Now, what's your concept then when I say reasonable? What comes to your mind? Give me some feedback here. Maybe I can. When you say if I'm using that term reasonable, what stands out to you?
Generally completes the work, does their assignments, as expected.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Yes.
I don't want to say it varies from class to class.
Okay.
But my definition kind of does have variance. I don't love that, I'm going to be honest.
Okay.
But I teach education classes, which
Okay.
means that I expect you to be able to eventually be professional as an educator. Then I just need, as a reasonable student, I just need a baseline that you are dedicated to working, if you aren't already at this level, to working towards this.
Okay.
Which is that intrinsic motivation that you hope to see in them. You can't force on them because you can't tell someone, hey, you're now intrinsically motivated.
Right.
Right. Try to be able to foster any way to make extrinsic intrinsic and set the baseline from there, because I know where we want to be. So even if you're not at all there yet, eventually we want to get you to where that is.
Okay. All right. Very good. Right. Reasonable. And that is a kind of understanding. And as I said, when I look back, and motivation always kind of been a part since high school for me, that my coach, in a sense, when it's saying the expectations, now I was put on, like, if anybody know anything about track, if y'all may have watched the Olympics or anything, I don't know. Okay, anyway. So I did a lot of relays. I'm a freshman, but he put me on relays with juniors and seniors. Pressure and what I was feeling and all of that, right? So there was a level of kind of my starting to say to myself in retrospect, as I kind of go back and think about it, that I don't want to fail. He sees something and he's putting me on a relay, and I'm on a relay with the upperclassmen. I better do something, right? I better kind of rise up to that expectation. So that's where that comes from, in a sense, when we're talking about have high expectations, okay, in a sense. Now, it may be for different subject matters, may be different in how we approach that, but lowering standards don't work well. Because if we do and allow them to go on and they think they succeeded, then now they're out maybe in the workplace and not have what they actually need. So we want to have that level of empathy, but we don't, again, want to lower those standards there, okay? So we're kind of talking about, this is where really that motivation really helps to unlock that potential. All right, in our students. So again, creating that classroom conditions for that. All right. Another area. So when we're kind of looking at some strategies kind of for that. Having students set clear goals for themselves. Now this is where we're talking about specific things that we can do. So if we're talking about having them set clear goals for themselves, this is just one of the things, and you all may do it as well, or some other things I would like for you to share. But at the very beginning of the class, I look to see, I do like a survey of my students them telling me what they want to get out the class, what they believe they will gain from it, as like a base point of, okay, this is what you're saying you're in here for. So now I'm looking at this and seeing how I can help create a framework for you. Now, do I believe that all of them, are clear on their goals and things like that? But that is kind of a baseline that I kind of use. Is there any other kind of strategies or things that you all can think about that you may use in your classrooms? Anybody?
I mean, I do that. I have them set, so I have entrance journals.
Okay.
I don't call them entrance quizzes because then the students start, jittering out. But not the first class, the second class, for their entrance journal, 2 goals. After we review the syllabus, it can be tied to the course material, or it could be, I just want to learn how to study better. So they kind of have that, but it has to just be related to academics. I'm like, I don't want, I got a new job at McDonald's. That's not the kind of goal we're setting.
Right.
But then at midterm and at finals, I have a journal where they reflect on those 2 goals. How's the course helping them? How is it not helping them? What are they personally doing to achieve it? And at finals, I also add, is this going to be an ongoing goal past this class, or do you feel that you've met this goal?
Okay. All right.
How measurable are those goals? Like on the scale from, wide open to easy to
Let's be real, the students write them.
Oh,
So
so
sometimes
they're writing
it's,
them?
Yeah, there
so
is their
sometimes
goal.
sometimes it's very specific. I want to learn how to teach social emotional concepts to infants. Great. And sometimes it's, I just want to know how to study.
Yeah.
So it's all across the board.
Right. So that's where we're, in a sense, understanding from them initially that kind of like a base point of what they want to achieve out of that, out of this time that they're going to have with it, whether it's a 16-week, 14-week, 8-week, whatever, that now we can see, okay, and began to kind of establish those frameworks for kind of saying, okay, so this, and at the very least, you said you wanted to do this. So if we meet, like you said, how measurable can we, if they met one of these goals, if that met 2 of these goals, okay? Anybody else? Yes.
I like to have my students on the first class set 30-day goals.
Okay.
And they want to achieve 30 days, then I say 3 months, 1 year, and then what's your long-range goal?
Right.
Especially I think in the GED program, it's nice if they can look out to, this is what I want to do after I achieve that GED.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what is actually beyond this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's great. Anyone else? In different departments, because we, like I said, we may do different things because we're kind of servicing still the same students, but in different ways because we're servicing different subject matters and things like that.
I'm starting to think it might be fun to have goals in a fill in the blank way, like a multiple choice.
Okay.
Okay, you decide what grade you want to get, how many comments do you want to make per class, how many questions you want to ask per class, all things that are very easily measurable.
Okay.
And that might be a fun way to set them in motion and then easy to check in and see how it's going.
Okay.
So I'm thinking this might be most useful if it was extremely concrete.
Yeah, you right, how you measurable, and that's how we generally set guidelines and
I'm gonna
goals.
try that and see what happens.
You have to do this ungraded, which sounds very simple.
Yeah, I'm great. Yeah, Guzman. Yeah. Okay.
They won't be able to write them. They're gonna be pre-written.
And then they're just kind of filling in. That's another way. Yeah. Okay.
And then they have to choose something. What grade are you gonna give it here? Because the way it is now, I just keep planting in their mind that everyone's gonna get an A.
Uh-huh.
All you need to do is do all the work. My classes are easy to get A's, and if you do all the work, you're there.
Okay.
But that's still too vague for me. I'm thinking, as I'm listening to you talk, I'm thinking it would be better to have something extremely
A little more
concrete.
concrete in that way. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Anyone else? Good thoughts. Please add that to your thing because I can't regurgitate it all right now and speak it out, but those are good things. Okay. Another strategy, have them reflect so they can discover and uncover. So, and I learned this, this became very useful. I learned this and I was part of the Atlas actually twice. And so the first time I did it, someone was talking about doing a reflection paper or doing some kind of reflection for that the students would do. And I found it very, very useful and helpful, and I've been incorporated in. And so students themselves would then begin to see, now we definitely give assessments, we grade, we can give feedback, right? They see that they get it, whatever particular percentage of a grade, or you give them a letter grade. But when they can start to see and discover and uncover some things about the class that they didn't know when they first got there, that gives them a concept of, I learned something. Something was unlocked. Now I know I can. When some may have felt like, I don't know, I'm just going to this class, I don't know. But when I began to read what they're saying, like, wow, okay. Now they have realized some things. They made some realization about what coming to college can be, or just learning and becoming more educated. And it really is a powerful thing. I think it empowers them to start to be motivated for themselves, a level of motivation for themselves. So that's where we can continue to move from that, from here, closer to here to more here. Sorry. Here, where they're moving more to a level of intrinsic motivation, where then the next class they go to, so this help all of us, right? So then maybe the next class they go to, they have a little more motivation, right, to complete and want to pass it, because now they've seen in one class, okay, I did learn some things. I was able to discover some things that I didn't know. Because sometimes students think this. It to be a little transparent, my son goes here now, and he's in the construction management, and I'm telling my son now, I'm an educator, we have educators in my family, but my son, he just really have a hard time, like, with school. He gets decent grades, but he just nothing that motivated him so much, right? But he loved construction. It was just something that kind of was in him. So that part of him was here already. But because I understand the higher education and I understand that, like, we're going to go and get these credentials and we're going to go and do this because I know the benefit that it's going to have. So hopefully he's moving more from the classroom work and all of that from this side to more over here. But sometimes they come in with just a level of intrinsic about something, right? So he always would take wood and just create little stairs and things. He come up with all kinds of stuff. So I knew it was something in him, and it was already fun for him. It was engaging. Now we have to try to incorporate the other part of the learning for him. And so that's where a lot of students too, that may be a part of what their journey has to be, okay? That small level of intrinsic, but we have to push a little bit more here for them to see that there is potential, okay? So them reflecting, and whatever that strategy may be, I have the way that the method of that strategy, I do have them write like a reflection paper, but there may be other methods in which you can have them kind of discover and uncover what they learned. Anybody else do anything along those lines?
My some classes it's writing just because of the time that we have. But for my online, I'll give them options sometimes. Okay. So for some assignments and reflections in particular as well, you can submit 150 word reflection, 2-minute video, or 2-minute audio of yourself talking. Or contact instructor if you have another idea, see if it works.
Right. Okay.
But I've had people turn in PowerPoint presentations.
Yeah.
Like they're like, I want to do a PowerPoint on how I feel like I'm doing. And I was like, go for it.
Right,
And
exactly.
they did.
Yeah. So that, I think when they start to see what they can do and express themselves in that way, it can start them to be like, oh, okay, let me do this. I'm going to do a little bit more. And that's great when you hear a student, like any of us here, can I do? We're like, yes, you can do. Do.
Oh, and cartoons. Someone did they made a whole cartoon of them talking to an imaginary theorist reflecting on the class.
Great, great. So whatever method you may use, this is kind of what we want to kind of as a strategy that we found to be very useful. And then rewards of encouragement and praise is another kind of area. And that can be, we don't want to give, again, we're not lowering standards. That's generally, we want our students to meet expectations. But just the encouragement throughout, praise. Like when we give our feedback, sometimes, we lead one of the things that I've learned, it should lead with the positive, right? And then give all the negative, no, not negative, but all the things that they can improve on, but just some positive and encouragement throughout, okay? And again, some of us have our students with us for 16 weeks. Some of us have them for a shorter period of time. Some of us have them online. So however we are kind of interacting with our students, these are some things that we can do. And whatever method you find kind of works for your particular subject matter, things like that, these are some strategies that we can use, okay? So what we're going to do real quickly, since we only have about 15 minutes or so left, but yeah, this is what I do in class. This is a scenario, but I do want you all to collaborate. Kind of, if I'm just giving everyone one, see if I can collaborate to do.
Thank you.
Let's go
Yeah, just a little scenario and kind of tell what you would do in this situation.
Oh, okay.
See that one?
Question right
Can we write on this?
Yes, you can write on that. And somebody will share from your small group.
I would just read it first.
Yeah.
Maybe she's having, if you do get the skills, maybe she's a better style. Yeah, so I feel like
The students are so like shy.
Yeah.
Well, we seem to have a lot about it already. Yeah, but yes, she's got a busy life.
In our architecture
Yeah.
courses, is if they turn into work
Yeah.
So it's not that early.
whether or not they just didn't get it the first time, or they were distracted, or whatever. But as long as they make a good faith effort. So like, if I've had students coming in on the due date,
Now,
hand in something,
I just had,
and it's
Casey
it's really not up to the task.
So that's right.
I'll still take it in, I don't say, I say, I'll grade it, and then give back to me, and you do it. As long as you do it.
But to let her talk to someone, a teacher who can like,
Yeah.
yeah,
We have to have more than-
it's fine.
But
Yeah.
something I explained to them that I want to.
Yeah,
And
so,
I know
so
that
maybe
she's not
a
a
student,
However,
refer to attention specialist.
so I need you to
Seems
help
like she
me
just needs more
and
time.
let him know.
Like we all do.
I'm not saying that I'm not looking out for you. I'm just saying that
I guess that's the thing I do, and then I sort of give up, as I say.
18 months.
And so,
See, your
that's one of the reasons why I need.
assignments are.
Once you're in.
And
Is
do
there
like
anything-
how many group.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy.
Oh,
It's proper support, yeah.
And
Do you guys,
job
do
distance.
you do this a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though you know that it's coming in late?
So that's another.
If they
What
can,
do you teach?
or if they can properly, not just, hey,
I would say.
not able to get my even though my goals are
Yeah.
very clear.
You come to the
Yeah.
department.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought I
If
might
they send me
recognize
that kind of
you.
email, I'll say,
Under
provided
virtual.
you set a date.
No, I agree, and I would say refer to like attention specialist, wellness.
That's my second,
I will not.
How about
I don't
in terms of like motivation?
Yeah, I've got, oh, it's okay, we might not be on the 89.
Oh, so your official policy is it's like the newsletter.
Any other slide you want me to go back to?
Oh, it's okay.
Okay.
Thinking out loud.
I
When
just-
when I
Is there a way we
started,
can push her?
I was overwhelmed.
Oh,
I just didn't, I just didn't
Because
force it.
recently,
Is there a way we can get her to
Attendance, like, my
reflect on her progress so far? And
More than 300 students.
Yeah.
within that.
Oh,
I never did. I started.
Well, we can't lower the
This semester.
cost.
Yeah.
We can't,
But I'm not.
we can't, go with the latest kids, that's guidelines, right? Or test scores, so those are things we cannot change. Yeah, I like that, having.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so that'd be big time fun, I think.
What's your goal? What do you think each program to like save yourself adopt?
You can do whatever you want, and so, yeah.
And as an intermediate, you know, like I think just something real concrete is like within the next 2 weeks, and you know, can you study an hour a day? Or, you know,
So,
just
if you
something
want
really
to
concrete.
be away from me,
We set aside this 1 hour.
I
Right.
could put that
Yes.
aside.
Right,
How would they
Take that
explain
time
the
and
power?
all your assignments.
And then they'll converse with each other.
yeah,
Right.
right,
Yeah,
right,
check
I think it's a good
and-
2-week goal.
Wait, what is it?
Concrete short-term goals.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
Well, I
What do
think
you
we
use it
done
for?
all we can.
Usually in my own writing, if I want to generate instances, I would say maybe just follow them. Well, check that again.
Yeah,
I'm
very
just
good.
messing around with it. It's kind of see what's working.
Yeah, I think that's why we're at it.
Yeah.
So you're my students.
you.
Yeah, you could, one thing I do all the time, where
What about connecting her with other students in class?
Yeah.
Things, because, yeah, I see that in my class, you know, I think people in the know so sure when they have to develop
Yeah.
a friendship, and we're always getting.
Yeah,
When
it
someone
is.
says things like that, right?
I used to teach high school and college and
Yeah.
I tested it on
Well said.
creating my own
Well,
customized
yeah, a lot
version.
came up to me after midterm.
It was really good.
Hey, just a couple more minutes then, and so we can share with each other.
Creating words.
How would you be our
That's kind of the more
spokesperson? Would you like to be here?
I use it as much for practice.
Go for it. You might be
And it's
right.
just.
I run my,
So it's usually
syllabus
here.
through it.
Something like that assignment. Everything's different every time.
Yeah, I'm sure less, but
So the syllabus has to have certain things in it. And I
Oh,
just
so you tell it more policies.
Yeah, give us the.
Yeah, I think this is really
Sixth
super.
grade, you know.
I mean, if you how many students in your class, and you see
Fill
there's
out
a
the
lot,
document.
or, you know, I
And
mean,
then,
it's hard, because
I
like,
didn't invent
quite
it.
honestly, little students, they're getting to, I mean, we
Yeah,
all
maybe
try,
we
where,
this.
and sometimes we don't see a downward turn, so it's already fairly significant, right? I think.
Make sure that no one's.
Friend directed. I used Star Trek. Or is it hypocritical? Do no harm.
Yeah, and how they're allowed to.
Do you have another?
Probably.
We talk about, we don't like them in this more.
Yeah.
So early.
I know, right, exactly. And it's in a special program.
Because they
Oh,
taught
so that's a lot of money someone put forward, right?
Yeah.
So.
Right,
Elevators, right?
right.
No, okay.
But see, and that's the two bad parts, is, you know, she's already hit this too, before you know it's free, I mean, it's like if someone will come to you in the beginning.
Okay.
You know, but they don't see it after it's begun.
Okay, do we have something, everyone have something to share?
So you, you're like.
This point.
Not around, Just.
Sorry,
Well,
That's fine.
We just
No,
gave
no.
it to ChatGPT and it said, I just read this in there and it just took my verbal input and it came back and said, one, schedule a one-on-one meeting, then it gives you detail on that. Discuss time management strategies in a paragraph on each one of these. Set short-term goals, provide resources for health, offer flexibility, emphasize progress rather than perfection, highlight role models, remind her of the end goal, and offer emotional support. So each one of those goes into detail.
Oh, on each one of them, okay.
Yeah, that's a 9-pointer. So then you could say, give me more info on
Right,
emotional
ChatGPT.
support, like what do you mean by that?
Okay. That's a share, yeah, okay. Maybe, did you want to expound on anything?
I'd say, I'd go to the person individually and say, I see that this is happening. Is there anything I can help you with? And I remind them there's a ton of people that try to want you to succeed. So there's resources all over the place. And on the top of my blackboard, it says, the best students seek help.
Okay.
So that's my banner, is the best students seek help. And then after that, I'm tired. So
All right.
I feel like that's all I can do. And if they're just going to be signed out still, then I'll say, and then if that's what you find, you're not going to complete the work or do whatever, then maybe this isn't the best semester for you to take the class, and you're welcome to take it again in the spring. So.
But you, like you said, one of your principles, you want to make it fun.
Yeah.
Is there any way you can think about, even in that situation, to help her in a way that may be based on your principles? I can come back. Think about that for a minute.
Maybe. I'm kind of in a constant state of making it fun.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't know. I should think about that. How could I tie that into a specific situation where they're slipping?
Yeah, when we talk about principles, that's always kind of your go-to because that's your guiding thing. So you're concurrent with. I'm sorry, your name?
Huh?
No, I was saying, what's your name?
George.
George, you all are, you concurred with each other? You good? Or you have some
Yeah,
thoughts?
I think there's an assumption here
Okay.
that's questionable. How do we know that her grades are slipping due to low motivation?
Well, we don't necessarily know that is due, but we just know those are the factors that's being presented to us. Meaning that her grades are slipping on a downward, she's not turning in her assignments and she has low test scores. So we're saying, whatever the reason is for it, we're trying to help her be motivated to continue on or to, yeah.
Yeah, it kind of assumes it's a motivation problem, but still, it's an interesting question. How do you deal with motivation?
It could be other factors. It could be how, her living conditions and all that. But our job as instructors in the classroom, what we're trying to get at is what can we do to help any student that may have some issues from whatever the situation may be. So we're, again, trying to create that environment that anyone can succeed no matter what their personal conditions are as well. Yeah. Okay.
This might help you guys as you're thinking about this with motivate. When I read what actions can you take to help motivate Michelle, I was thinking of the extrinsic motivation, like what can I do to help motivate Michelle? Like, I'm not assuming that she's not motivated, but I'm assuming that there might be maybe something from me that is missing to help motivate her to get me the work. Does that make sense? So it's
Yeah.
not assuming, I read this as not assuming she's unmotivated. I'm reading this as she's having too much going on in different areas. So how can I extrinsically motivate her to make
Right.
this part of her high priority for her intrinsic motivation?
Because can I just interject? Because this is about us as the instructors. So it's always about what can we do. It's not, it's a lot of various reasons why students' grades may slip or they may not show up. It's always what, as instructors, we're looking at what can we do. So it is an extrinsic thing that we're doing because we're kind of coming from us. So it's not something that's necessarily from within them.
It doesn't help that Terry and I worked with a student last year who, there's a lot of similarities. There's some differences, of course, because you can't reach into our brains and know what our student was like for this
Yeah.
particular handout. But she was the primary guardian of a younger sibling. She was on a scholarship, but she worked full time because she had a child under her roof. And she was what, 20? 22? Like, young to be taking care of 10-year-old? I'm trying to remember, 6? Yes. She's very young to be taking care of a 6-year-old. So it wasn't that she wasn't intrinsically motivated to do the work. It was that she had so much going on that it divided her motivation. I have to work. I have to feed my younger sibling. School, I'm trying to do it. I want to get my associates in teaching. But there's so much pulling at these poor students sometimes where, in our case, Terry, we were lucky to have Terry last year, not as our adjunct, but as our student success strategist for a grant we had. Fortunately, Terry, not unfortunately that you're just our adjunct anymore, like we still get to keep you. But we don't have that role anymore of someone who could just sit and work with her one-on-one, help her make plans, set a place for her to study. I think she spent hours in your office just doing assignments. And on my end, it was to motivate her, just being willing to make a plan with her.
Sure.
Here's what we're going to do to make sure that you get the assignments in before class. Here's what we're going to do to help you study. At the end of the day, unfortunately for this student, as much as our extrinsic motivation strategies would have worked for students in other situations, hers was just too much.
Yeah. And we know that sometimes it's going to be that, but it's always us to challenge, I believe, as instructors, to challenge ourselves to see what else can we do. We have limitations, of course, of what we can do, but it challenges us. And when we're challenged, we just kind of keep rising again to the expectations of what can we do to help the student. Now, of course, and hopefully in the future or future still.
And in some cases it
right.
has worked, or I don't want to say I haven't had to use Terry when she was with us in that role, but there have been cases where it's just like, usually my method is like, I'll reach out, say, hey, what's going on? How are you doing? Sometimes they respond, sometimes they don't, but we take it from there.
Right. So, okay.
And I like the way you said it, that if it doesn't work for this semester, no, next semester. So it's not like, it's not like your life is over.
Exactly.
If it doesn't work for this semester, revisit it next semester.
And it's not a judgment, so I try and treat it like an engineering problem. Doesn't fit in the schedule, or you can't figure out how to
Right.
make it work,
Yes.
but it's not like
Right.
there's something wrong with you.
Right,
Just
exactly.
shit happens, and here we are,
Right. We kind of want, and I want to get you all's thoughts, but we, again, as instructors, looking at what we can actually do. That's how can we create just the conditions and environments that's under our limitation, under our control or our power that we can do. And our hope is always that we can do enough or a little bit to help motivate. So if that student, for them, if Michelle did stop coming, but then you see it next semester, then that was part of the motivation or part of helping her to see that there's potential for you to still come here. There's still a purpose for you to come here. Okay, now what do you?
So definitely for us, I would definitely want to check in with the student and just try to find out where they're at, what's going on, what are the challenges. Maybe there's some type of resources that we can link them with, whether they're having, some sort of personal crisis or some sort of emotional challenge. We have counseling and wellness. If it's study skills, we can talk with them, and then we have our retention specialist, or whatever the case happens to be. So, again, use all of Triton's awesome resources if we can.
Oh, yeah.
Then kind of piggybacking off what you said earlier, maybe set some goals for this student, where we want to help them meet those high standards that we have. So we were thinking perhaps immediate goals as well as longer term goals would be helpful. For immediate, maybe they can block off this 1 hour on Sunday that they could dedicate to finishing their assignments. So these next 2 Sundays, I'm going to do, after I get home from work, I'm going to set aside this time to work on my schoolwork. If they can do that and finish all their assignments in the next 2 weeks, that would be awesome for them to get them on a proper trajectory. So.
Okay, right. So it's what, when we see this, and in these scenarios, and this is a scenario, but it really speaks to sometimes the situation that many students face that we know. So it's a comment, but George, right? Mm-hmm. When you said that did bring up, so you kind of looked at it like, do we know if it's a lack of motivation for them? Would that change then what you could do for them if you didn't think it was a motivational issue?
In my short experience, it isn't most of the time.
Okay.
They need money.
Okay.
So it's a societal political issue.
Okay.
So as an instructor, I think that's a key qualification here.
That's where
there's only so much you could do, but I teach at night, and a lot of times my students are coming after working all day. They're very motivated most of the time.
if you come in at night, you generally want to be here. But that's where that still is where that level, when I spoke earlier about empathy, to have the empathy, but just know what our kind of limitations are, that if it's not motivating, they want to come, what are the strategies or what are the things that we can do as an instructor within our power to kind of help them, okay? So I hope you gleaned something from this, that we all can kind of use. Motivation, again, is part of the human performance. And again, one other just thought, outcome, oftentimes we look at the total outcome, but the performance of each student is important too. Those small wins as they, go on. I mean, I can use so many sport metaphors, but I won't. Okay, I'll leave it alone. But that's how we kind of want to just look at that. So thank you so much for your time, and I hope to see you all in other settings as well. Okay?
Yay.
Okay, thank you.